Hey, magician friends in India. My name's Ali Cook. I'm a magician here in the UK. I'm going to be talking to Bharath on his YouTube channel, Mallugic. Hope to see you there.
Hello Ali, how are you?
I'm good, Bharat. You okay?
I'm fine, I'm doing good. And how is the corona situation there? How is it going on? Pandemic.
It's got better in Britain at the moment. Things have declined, and the restrictions have declined. So it's actually really hot for England at the moment. So it's actually not too bad. You can go to restaurants again. Obviously, you have to do social distancing, wear masks. But at the moment, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm happy that the situations are getting back to normal there.
Yes.
Good, yeah.
How is it over there?
It's now, day by day cases are increasing. It's very pretty much bad here. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
everyone is staying. It's full lockdown here, so everyone is at home right now. Day by day cases are increasing. I hope everything will get better within a few months. I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway, yeah.
now is the time to practice a Zarro shuffle or a
Yeah.
or a perfect Pharaoh shuffle.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, well, let me add one thing here. So first of all, thank you so much for accepting my invitation to my channel, Mallugic. It's my pleasure
It's
and
a,
honor to have you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So let's start the session. That's it. Let's start the session. So I actually saw you on when I was a kid. I started learning magic at 2007. So later in 2012 or 13, I saw the video on YouTube where you got featured on CBBC's television series called The Slammer. And
yes.
in that you did that water torture escape in Harry Houdini's water torture cell. That was like brilliant. I mean, when I was a kid, I saw that, okay, and I was like, oh my god. But at that time, I didn't have Facebook, I didn't have Instagram or any other thing. So I was your huge fan back in that time. So I used to follow, and I even saw your Penn and Teller Fool's Act.
Yes.
Where you take the chicken set and all. That is like, and the way you present it, more than doing that effect or that act, the way you present is in a very like a funny way, in a very comedy way, which is really wonderful. So, and now, which is very surprising for me, now when I looked up on you, when I researched about you, I came to know that you are now an actor.
Yes.
You are
Yes.
more established as an actor. So like I was like, what? Wait a minute. Back in 2011, you were an illusionist and you were doing close-up magic, street magic, and all, and now you established as an actor. So I was really shocked by hearing that, and I'm really happy for you. So we will start by asking the questions about magic and how you got into magic, and then we will come to your acting part. Okay.
Yeah.
So first
Okay.
of all,
Yeah.
I want to ask you is that how you got interested in magic and how you started learning magic.
Well, my mother, she had one of those spiritual bookshops, where they sell like think how to meditate. They sell tarot cards, crystals, and all that. In I don't know what they call it where you live, but they call it kind of new age bookshops. And I used to work at my mum's bookshop, and a few magic books came in. One was Peter Eldin's Pocket Book of Magic, and also The Expert at the Card Table came in.
Uh-huh.
And I started reading those books, and I really got into it. I was hooked. And then there used to be a shop in Britain. So when I got into it, this was pre-internet. So when I was a boy, I got a laptop when I was 17, and I think that's when everyone started emailing. So I used to do everything mail order, and there was a shop called Magic Books by Post, and I just had an old photocopied a list of all the books they had, and whenever I could save up, I would buy another book. And at first, I wanted to be a manipulator, so I wanted to do coins, cards, and billiard balls. That was it for a long time.
Awesome. And how old you were when you started off magic? How old you were?
I was about 13 when I started, and
Oh, you were
also,
13.
yeah, in Britain, Paul Daniels was the famous TV magician,
Yeah,
and he
I
was on
know.
British TV, primetime TV for 22 years. He used to have a Saturday night show, So most people in Britain were brought up with Paul Daniels, and he used to sell magic sets as well. So I also got the Paul Daniels magic set, and
Wow.
I learned to do a French drop with a billiard ball, and I also learned to do the transfer
Yeah.
this.
Transfer. Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that, and I remember doing it at a Cub Scouts group for a load of friends of mine, and they all went when I did it. I actually amazed them, and I was 12 or 13, and I was like, oh my god, I can do this, and that's when I realized I knew how to do it.
And then how you actually turned out to be illusionist later, because being a performer like that, it's different, right? Being an illusionist is we have to buy large illusions, we have to invest a lot of money, because investing in close-up magic is not like investing in illusion, because for illusions we have to be, get assistance, timing is important, we have to invest a lot of
Yeah.
huge amount of money in buying that. So when did you realize that you have the potential to be a illusionist?
So that's a good question. It's very different. I think it's a different investment. I think to be a good close-up magician, you need a big investment of time, because to learn how to do moves well, it takes a long time. It takes a long time. It's like learning an instrument. Whereas as an illusionist, you can learn the trick quick, but you can spend a lifetime presenting it right.
Yeah.
You know. But what happened for me is here we have the Edinburgh Fringe Festival each year, where people go up. Normally they produce plays and stand-up comedy, and me and a couple of my friends, we started doing one-man magic shows. And my friends, they did a lot of comedy magic, so kind of stand-up magic and close-up magic. And I thought, how could I be different? And no one in Britain was doing illusions. And that's when I thought, why don't I try doing illusions? But trust me, illusions are hard work. And the hardest thing are assistants.
Yeah.
Because it's like, firstly, you have to audition, these very glamorous assistants. And then they're like, I know you're glamorous. I know you're a brilliant dancer. But can you hide in this tiny space for minutes on end?
Yeah, because it doesn't matter. Maybe they might be glamorous, they might be gorgeous, but if they don't have the skill to do in the right timing, you are going to be screwed up on stage, right?
Well, they're going to screw up the trick, and they might get hurt. I mean, the other thing with illusions, the girl I used to do the water tank on, who on the clip you saw, Tia, we were rehearsing one day, and she just scraped her leg, and that's the thing. You're jumping in and out of these tiny boxes quickly, and you're always like scratching yourself or cutting yourself. Being an illusionist, when you see David Copperfield, it looks like the most glamorous thing in the world, but it's the least glamorous thing in the world, basically.
Yeah. And the illusion which you did it so fastly. I think it took like less than 10 seconds or 5 seconds. I mean, that was very quick. So how long does it take for you guys to actually came up with that illusion in that quick?
Was that the water tank?
Yeah, water torch, yeah.
Yeah, so the water tank mixed with the sub-trunk illusion. It was originally performed by Mark Wilson in America on a TV show, but it was done in a very different way. But the idea of lifting a cloth like a sub-trunk was my own idea. That was how I changed it a bit. Okay. And we spent... It was the first real illusion I ever performed, and I was very nervous. So we spent 2 months on it, and we used to do it about 3 times a week for about 2 or 3 hours at a time. So, and we did it more for safety because we were jumping in and out of water, and I was just very worried about Tia, getting hurt, basically. And also, I was very scared of water. Very scared of water.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, fine. So, but by the way, that act was like very beautiful and very quick. I mean, I can know that how much hard work you had put on that to do that fast. Okay. And usually, let me ask you something. Every magician in the world or every illusionist in the world, let's say every performer, they have their own philosophy about magic, right? If it is a mentalist, they have their own philosophy. Some mentalists say that mixing magic and mentalism is not fine. Some say that that's fine. They have different philosophy. So what's your philosophy about magic?
Well, there are different philosophies for different things. In terms of mixing genres, I really believe a magician has to be able to do it all. I think this idea that someone goes, I only do mind reading, or I only do coin magic. I mean, it's got so ridiculous. I only
Yeah,
do safety pin magic. I mean, like, it
yeah,
gets silly. And I heard a great story. I was a big fan of David Roth, the coin magician,
yeah. David Roth. Yeah.
and I met him, and he said that brother John Hammond, who had all the packet tricks, he said, "You know what? I cannot stand Fred Capps. Fred Capps is the world's greatest manipulator. He's the world's greatest close-up magician. He's the world's funniest cabaret act. And you know what? Today I saw him do a children's show, and it was the best kids show I've ever seen." And I think that's something that's missing in magic today. That the old timers, Paul Daniels or Fred Capps, they could do it all. Like, because really, when you're a magician, to the layman, to the lay public, they think you're a magician. They think you can do it all. They're like, oh, can you entertain the kids? Oh, can you entertain my grandma? Oh, can you read my mind? Oh, can you levitate this car? They don't. They just
They don't
think
know the
you're a magician.
differentiation. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So
Only we performers know the branches in magic, and only we know that okay, mentalism is different, close magic is different, street magic is different, conjuring is different, illusion is different, but public doesn't know. That's true what you said.
they don't know. They don't. They really, or they just lump it all into one area, and they just assume you can do it all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I'm glad that you do it all because you do street magic. I have seen some of your performance on YouTube channel, and you do illusions, and you do comedy act, right? As well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is really wonderful. And how about the situation now? Like, are you planning to do any online shows in this situation?
Yeah. So I have a comedy agent rather than a magic agent. So
Okay.
I mostly perform comedy day to day with my magic. For a long time I did close up, but nowadays I mostly do comedy and magic. And they do comedy clubs online now, which is weird. It's really weird. But you stand in your bedroom, you click Zoom on, and then you have to do stand-up comedy to all
Through
these,
Zoom.
through Zoom. Yeah, yeah.
So that's what you're doing now.
Yes, yeah. It's bonkers. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. But it's quite good fun. It's quite good fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I actually, I'm going to ask you a tough question because the reason why it's tough is because it might be hard to choose one. But it's like if you have an option in front of, if you have three options in front of you, that magic. Okay. So in magic, when I say magic, everything will come to you, that illusion, close-up magic, street magic, everything. So you have magic in front of you, or you have like comedy, as a comedian, and then you have as an actor. If you have these three options in front of you, and you have to select only one, then which one you
Oh,
would pursue?
oh. That's a tricky one. I do have an answer. I would probably say an actor, because if you're a good actor, I think that means you can be a good magician. And if you're a good actor, you can be a half decent comedian. That's what I think. So I see it. I see that the better I get at acting, the better I get at the other two. Because really, a magician is just an actor being a magician. That's
Yeah,
what you.
exactly.
And I find that I think a lot of my magician friends, a few of them have gone into film. I don't know if you know Paul Wilson, a Scottish magician.
I heard about Paul Wilson, but I haven't known that he went to films.
Yeah, he still does card magic, but he directed a film, and it's excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that magicians, because we're misdirecting people, I think most magicians end up being quite good. I think they'd be quite good at making films because they know how to control an audience's attention, because that's what a magician has to do. A singer doesn't really have to do that, really, or a comedian or a dancer, they just do their thing. Whereas a magician, you're really guiding the audience attention all the time. But that is a tough question. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I love the way you reply to that. Anyway, it is not like the complete answer, but still, like I love the way you reply to that question. If you can be an actor, you can be a good magician, and you can be a half better comedian as well. Yeah.
I do think that to be a great comedian takes something else. Like I do like just because you're a good actor, it doesn't mean you're funny. You know, like there's something. I think comedy is one of those things where some people have this thing, and you don't know what it is. It just makes them so funny. And I think there's only a very. I think you can work very hard to be a good comedian, but to be the best, you've just got to have a little bit of something. Just a little
sense
something.
of humor. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's just a thing that you can't. Just a little extra thing that just makes you funny. Yeah.
Okay. And like just now when you said all these things, just now, right now, a question came into my mind that, see, I believe if whatever the profession we are doing, it's always important, really important to have a unique personality. Whether you are an actor, you need to have a unique personality. Whether you're a magician, you have to have a unique personality. If you're a mentalist, you have to have a unique personality. Because the reason why we have to have a unique personality is when we are trying to copy others, like, if you get inspiration from some other performers, the chances are more that you will try to imitate them. Yeah, it's always, okay, we only learn by imitating others in the beginning, but later when we become professional, we have to have a unique personality, our own identity. So the thing is that you are a comedian, you're an actor, you're a magician, you're an illusionist. So these are kind of like different genres, right? Different things. So, like, how do you find out the unique personality when you do all these things? I mean, how did you find the unique personality in yourself?
That's a good question, and I think the hardest question in magic. And I really think you find out in two ways. I think the most important thing is you perform wherever you can to whoever you can for as long as you can. I think when you start out, it's okay to copy people. I know that sounds controversial. It's okay because it's actually what everyone does. But you have to move on. So a lot of people copied David Copperfield and never moved on. A lot of people copied David Blaine and never moved on. And what you have to do is you have to take inspiration, and it's okay to copy, but if you stick with that same thing for about 2 or 3 years, eventually you'll just start doing it in your own way. And then at that point, that's when you should start changing costume and music, and then you start adding in your own personality. I think another thing is to start writing your own scripts. And the thing to realize with a script is you do need to write a script for magic, and it's okay if it's really bad, because magicians, we think we have to be perfect because the trick has to be perfect. The trick does have to be perfect, but the script doesn't. Now, when you watch a comedian, I only learned this from doing comedy. When you watch a comedian on TV, he's been doing that 10 minutes for 10 years. And he's worked on it, and it was very bad at the start. And just through sheer repetition, it got good. Magicians, we get very scared. I think we want instant results. And when you write an original script, it's going to take you 2 years before that script is good. The trick will always work, but it will take a long time to get the script there. And it's okay to fail. I think that's the way. And then the third thing, what's a good idea, is to write down all of your flaws, write down all the things you're good at, and then write down all of your own interests and see if you can use those in magic. So I believe every magician should do, the book test where you pick a word from a book.
Yeah.
Every magician should do a book test, and that book is from one of their other hobbies. That's it. It's just really simple. And then every magician would have an original book test. So if you're into fishing, you have a book on fishing. You talk about fishing, they pick a word.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
If you're into cycling, you have a book on cycling. And it sounds really simple, but that's one way to do it.
Yeah, you just have to change the book cover, right? Otherwise, we have to customize our own book test. If you want to there are many book tests out there in the market which are really great. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Uh,
the thing about writing flaws, that's what comedians do. So if you know, like there's a comedian in Britain, John Richardson. He knows that he says I don't know if you have this word over there. He says he's really anal. So everything has to be planned. Everything he does is really planned and organized. And he exaggerates that. So he looks a bit mad, and then it becomes funny. So you could use that as a magician. Or if you know you're lazy, you could be the lazy magician. Or, if you're into hip hop, every trick you do is something to do with hip hop. So it's actually just thinking about the other things you're naturally into and then trying to mix them.
All right. Yeah, that's true. And one thing which I want to add is that I think okay, yeah, I will add that right now. See, like being an actor, you will go to like in magic there are like magic conventions, right? So the same thing in the film, where like film festivals are there, and I'm pretty sure that you might be having many friends in the acting field, right, in the film field. So are you keeping the same personality when you go to magic conventions and when you go to film festival and when you go to the friends? Because we human beings, I mean, not only like most of the people, I believe only rare people have same personality in the profession and in the real life. But I think most of the people in the world, they have their own personality in the profession they do, and in real life they might be different. So do we have different personalities in the different field, or you just have just only single personality?
Well, that's a good question. So when you're acting, obviously you're taking on a role, and with acting, my God, the auditions are so different. Sometimes you're a lawyer, sometimes you're a psychopath, sometimes you're a soldier. So that's where you have to put on a character, take on a character as such.
One thing to add. Sorry to interrupt. What I meant is that not about acting, because in acting we are playing different roles in different film.
Yes.
Like in 2014, where you acted in Kajak as Sergeant Paul Macmillan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So you acted that role, so that is different, and the role you had in Call Up is different. So
Yes.
what I'm saying is that in real life, where you meet,
I see. Yeah.
that's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay. I think so. I think in film, I get quite serious because you're often negotiating on things, trying to get the best deal. In magic, I feel that my personality is very close to my comedy personality. I find in comedy, my persona changes the better I get.
Okay.
And who I am today will be a shell of how good I could be in 10 years from now. Because in comedy, you get better and you don't understand how you get better, but you just get better by doing it. A bit like a boxer in the ring, like if you just do lots of fighting, you get better. You don't know why you get better, you just get better.
Yeah. So, how do you actually get creative? What's the creative process behind creating your customized acts in magic?
In magic, okay, so when I do a one-man show, I if it's an hour show, I do 1/3 material I already know. This stops me getting nervous. I will begin and end on something I already do. One third of the show will be routines that already exist in the magic world. And 1/3 of the show, I try to do something original. That's how I do it. If you try to do everything original, you'll be too nervous. If you try to do everything brand new, you'll be too nervous. If you steal everyone else's act, you won't be any good. So that so that's how I do it. So I do a third of my old show, a third of material I've learned from books or I've bought, and then one third that's where you try to do something new.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And one more thing I had to ask about magic, and then we
Yeah.
can come into the session where about your acting movie as an actor. Okay, so you already established yourself as an illusionist, as a closet magician, as a street magician, and a comedian, right? And as an actor also. So you have pretty much a wide variety of knowledge in different fields.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your best advice? You can, there are many performers out there, not like performers, hobbyist magicians. They learn a lot of stuff because like right now, internet is everything. We can pretty much get everything on the internet. Like we just have to search on Google. We can easily access it because if you take look at the history, the many legendary performers, they discovered their own methods and techniques and they wrote books, and many performers learn many things from books. And nowadays people don't pretty much invest time on reading magic books. They just buy some DVDs, from online. We can easily access it. But the problem is that there are many hobbyist magicians out there. They don't know how to take magic seriously. They don't know how to take magic professionally. They don't know how to get started by doing shows. So they just learn and learn and learn, make some YouTube videos, upload it on YouTube and Instagram, and they claim that they are a magician. So what I'm going to ask you is that what's the best advice you can give to the hobbyist magicians to be a professional and how to get started by doing shows?
Yeah. So I mean, one of the hardest things about being a magician is there is no career path. Like, if you want to be a dentist, you have to go to university, you study to be a dentist, you then start working as a dentist. If you're a magician, no one knows how you do it.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's hard.
secret of magic, right?
Yeah, it's hard. I have magic as a hobby, and I have magic as a business. So I like learning tricks on a weekend, like by Ed Marlowe. I enjoy learning card tricks, particularly for some reason I'm into Ed Marlowe at the moment. But a lot of those tricks I would never put in a show, but I do enjoy learning them like a hobbyist. And there is a joy in learning. There's a joy in just learning. But when you want to be a performer, you really do have to really just get good at 5 tricks. And your level of sleight of hand should be here, but the trick that you're performing when you first start should be here, because it stops you getting nervous. Now, when people get into magic, they will learn something like a second deal, and they will go out and try to do a second deal at someone's birthday party. And what they've never learned about is how to handle nerves. So they shouldn't be doing that. If you can do a second deal, when you do your first few magic shows, you should be doing an invisible deck. Right? So you want to have your skill level very high, but perform tricks that are very easy relative to your skill level. So that's one way to reduce nerves. You only need 5 tricks, and you need to get performing them anywhere and everywhere. And what you have to do is you just have to offer to do shows for free. Friends, relatives, weddings. Go and ask at a local hotel. Go and ask at a local restaurant if you can do magic. And you don't want to ask for much money either. You just want to get performing. And then if you begin to get good, you will then begin to get proper shows. But in comedy, you don't get paid for 4 years. You don't. When you do acting, you do amateur dramatics and drama school for maybe 3 or 4 years. It's only magicians who learn a few tricks and then they think they should be charging hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
It's okay to, once you've learned 5 tricks, you've then got to get used to walking up to a stranger and going, "Hi, I'm Ali. Can I show you a trick? I'm the magician here tonight." That's nerve-wracking, doing all that stuff. When I was 17, I couldn't go up to pretty girls. I got too nervous. and it wasn't until about I was 28 I suddenly got over it.
Oh, all right. That's actually
um,
funny, though. I mean, the way you are
yeah,
now, if you're looking at in the past, now it's funny because at that time it might not be funny. It might be the hardest part in your life, right?
yeah, no, I mean, we underestimate how much nerves. Instead of suddenly going, "Oh my God, I'm nervous," you need to allow for the fact that you're going to get nervous. That's why, like if you're a good card magician. So I did a big magic show in the West End, and I did an ambitious card. But in that ambitious card, I only ever did a double lift and tilt. Now I can do a much more advanced ambitious card, but I ain't gonna do it in front of 700 people. Do you see what I mean? Because it's more important to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That's the big secret. Yeah.
All right, all right. Well replied. You explained it beautifully. Uh, One more thing I need to ask, then we can move on to the your like how you turned out to be an actor. So the thing is that not only in magic, but in every field, especially in every artistic field, consistency is one of the most important thing. We have to be consistent. Even though if you feel like to take a short break, we can, of course. But if you have to grow, consistency is important. And in order to gain consistency, we need to find some inspiration, right? We have to be inspired to do productive. So, how do you get the inspiration to be consistent in this field?
Whew. Well, as a magician, yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of success as a magician, and I've also had a lot of rejection as well. I've had some big TV series. I've also missed some big TV series. So it's not easy. It's not always easy. I think you have to just I think you have to remind yourself, when you first got into magic, what was it that you loved about it? I was about 13, and those first 2 or 3 years, I just loved magic. I just loved magic, and I loved practicing magic, and I loved just reading a book and practicing a trick. And then if you are feeling not so great, is just going back to that thing that makes you feel happy again. I think magicians can get overly. I don't know what it's like there. Sometimes magicians get very competitive, but the truth is, there simply just aren't enough magicians in the world for competition to be a problem. It's not as if TV has got 50 magicians on every channel. That is not, it's just not the case. In the acting world, there are thousands of people, and that's very different. But there's just not enough magicians for magicians to be competitive with each other. The truth of it is if any one person gets a big show, it will indirectly benefit everyone else. Because magic is still very much a small area. And then the other way to get motivated is to book yourself in somewhere. So I do a tour usually every 2 years, and when the tour comes, I have to have a new show. So I have to have a show. So if you're just starting out, a good way to do this would be to try and perform at a restaurant, or try and get in at a friend's wedding, and just say, I'm going to do a 10-minute show and practice. That's what you got to do. You just have to give yourself a little deadline.
Yeah, okay. And okay, so now we can move on to the other side of you, which
Yeah.
is acting
Yeah.
and movies. Okay. So, it's really shocking thing. It's really strange because you are a you're a great illusionist. You're a great
Oh,
performer. You're a great comedian. So, how did you come in this acting field? And when was your first? When was your first movie happened?
yeah. So I was performing in a comedy club maybe 10 years ago, and a young director called Andrew Saunders saw me there, and he asked me to audition for a short film. So he was a training to be a director, and he made a short film. And I got the audition, and I acted for him. And there was an older gentleman with him who was directing us. And I found out later he's a very famous English director called Stephen Frears. I had no idea at the time. He's like one of the world's best directors, and I was just making this thing thinking, God, this is good. And I remember making this short film, and I came away with a buzz. I was like, wow, I really enjoyed that. I would love to do.
Was that short film called Date?
No, it was before that one. This was called it was called Strickland.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's on Vimeo, and I remember doing that, and I really got the bug. I was like, wow. And then I couldn't get any acting work for years and years and years. And then eventually I started doing short films again, and I built up what they call a show reel, where you get a few minutes of you doing different roles. Mm-hmm. And I started sending that to different agents. And then eventually I got an agent, and then started getting some auditions. But acting is tough. It's really tough. Yeah, even really famous actors, they might work for years and years and years, then suddenly stop for 2 years, and then suddenly get more auditions again. It's really hard.
Yeah. So, do you really had that interest in acting when you were a child?
No. In fact, when I first moved to London, I met quite a few young actors, and I found them really annoying, and I didn't like actors. They were all so overly confident. They'd all been to drama school. They were all like, hello, and really, really confident and full of themselves, and I didn't like them. And I became an actor because my old TV producer, he said to me and Pete Furman, who's another magician I did shows with, he said, you two are good magicians, but to become better performers, you should study comedy and you should study acting. And so that's what I did. So I took acting classes whenever I could, and I started doing stand-up comedy.
So, which was the movie that actually changed your life in the acting industry?
It's Kajaki, I would say. Yeah, so far, because that film won a lot of awards, and that allowed me to get in with one of the excellent acting agents, and it's still a very tough world, but I'm very lucky to get in with such a good agency. Yeah. And
I think, Billy, after Kajaki, you got a much more screen presence on Call Up, if I believe, right? I think.
Yeah. The Call Up was a bigger role, yeah. But I filmed that before Kajaki, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And what I mean is that Kajaki is actually, I think, it's a feature film, and it's of like 1 hour 30 minutes, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I think the film that changed your life is Kajaki, but I believe you had more screen presence in Call Up. Yeah.
That's but sure. It's weird, but the Call Up, I play one of the leads, really, but it's a smaller film. It's really weird how it works. Whereas Kajaki had
British Film Awards, right?
Yeah, it had a smaller budget, did Kajaki, but it won more awards, I think. So it's weird. It's really weird how it works. Yeah.
So, what are your future plans? I mean, are you like? I actually saw a trailer on your Facebook page. Like, it's a How to Fake a War, or like how is that called? How to Fake a War?
Yeah. So that's a comedy. That's a comedy film. So when you make films, you quite often, by the time you see them online, you've made them a long time ago, because they edit them for a long time. So I filmed that 2 years ago, and that comes out in America next week, I believe.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah, congrats.
Yeah. So, but when you're an actor, you know the least about it. You get paid to do your bit, then someone else makes it, someone else edits it, someone else sells it.
It's a big process. It's a huge process.
it's a huge process. It's
Huge
exciting.
process.
But I filmed things and then it all gets cut out as well. Just because they film so much stuff, you don't know what's going to make the film. Yeah.
And before all these things happen, I think you actually come up with that short film called Date, right?
Yeah, that
Before
was
all these things.
me and a friend of mine. Yeah, yeah.
That was pretty good because I saw it on your YouTube. It was on your YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
But I'm, very much sad because at the end that girl got vanished.
Yes.
Yeah. So I
Well,
think it was better. It was better to stop the effect where I think in that effect in the table you did an effect, right? And in that date.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I did? What, the Vanishing Girl, or
Before that, before you were on date in the table, you did an effect, right?
yeah, I did the Appearing Fish and I did the Silk to Rose.
Appearing fish was after the silk to rose.
Yeah.
And I think it was better to stop at appearing fish because otherwise you would have saved that girl because at the end girl got disappeared. And but that was like hilarious. I mean, you were like searching where is that girl, and it's really good. It's really good.
I think she's a very famous actress now. That girl. Yeah, her
Wow.
name Georgie Maguire, and I think she was going out with the cameraman. That was a really good example. We had no script. The cameraman knew the girl, the director knew me, and it was a competition for Virgin Shorts. And he said,
it won the best short film or something. You won an award, right? That short film.
Yeah,
won
it
an
did.
award.
Yeah, and he said, just come round to my flat and let's see if we can make a 2-minute film. And we did. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And what are your Ali? What are your future plans? I mean, are you more focused on your film career or magic?
I actually do both at the same time, and I like the idea of doing magic on film. So I've written a film about magic. It's a horror film.
Wow.
So we're casting that film at the moment, and there's also a children's book about magic that I would love to take. I'd love to make that as a TV series. And then I've made another short film about magic. So I like the idea about making films about magic. And so I'm doing that. And then I also do shows all the time. So I'm doing a show for Amazon next week, I believe. And a couple of comedy clubs are coming up. So I kind of do those in the nighttime. And then I do, work on the films in the daytime.
Which is really, really difficult to maintain both these things because I think if a magician gets an opportunity to act in film, and film field is like we get more exposure than magic. Even though magic has a lot of potential, we know magic has a lot of potential, but it's still now. I mean, people don't know the secret of magic, and people don't know the potential of magic. So it's still in a smaller area. But film is like you get more publicity. You get more exposure. So when you do an interview as an actor, you can just show some tricks and you can get the name easily as a magician also.
I think that would be my dream, would be to be on a big chat show as an actor, but I do some cool tricks.
That would be really dope,
I think it's true, man. Magic is a niche, but that's okay though. And I think I love magic because you have to be good at a lot of things to be a magician. It's funny how magic has always been seen as a bit derogatory in the performing arts. But to be a good magician is a really hard skill. You've got to be a writer, you've got to be a director, you've got to learn the skills. You've got to be funny, you've got to be serious, you've got to be an actor. There's so many things you have to learn to be a good magician. So I love being a magician, and I see making films and writing. I all see them as offshoots from being a magician, to be honest.
All right, and tell us about your best and worst experience in magic and in film. I'm not okay. So in terms of magic, we cannot say it as a worst experience. I would say it's a challenging experience because the worst experience in magic, if it happens, that's a lesson for us. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like we will never make that mistake. Okay, so in magic, if you get some challenge, if you get a worse experience, it's really good. So actually, tell us about your best and challenging experience in magic and in the film industry.
Yeah, okay. Well, the easy one is definitely magic. So the water tank trick that you saw, I performed it at the Edinburgh Festival, and it was the first time I ever performed it. And that night, I did a 1 hour show. At the end of the show, I got my first ever standing ovation. And
Wow.
it was now normally when you see shows and they have standing ovations, they pay actors to be in the audience to start it and all this stuff. This was a real. It was only a small audience. There's only like 80 people, small theater. I got a real standing ovation. It was quite a feeling. It was amazing. The next night, so you do a run of 28 shows. The next night, I do the same show in the same theater at the same time. Of course, it's a different audience. And all I got the whole show was this. And then when I got at the end of the show, I came out of a water tank. And I just got this. And that was the one day and the lesson I learned is sometimes it is the audience. You know, we always say, oh, there's no bad shows. It's just you have to win the audience over. And that's when I realized, you know, some nights you try everything, you can't win them over.
Yeah, some audiences are like that. I mean, we had to accept the fact that sometimes no reaction is also a reaction. We have to admit the fact.
Or sometimes it's, you know, everyone's a bit tired. They still like the show, but it's just not on fire tonight. That's it. And it takes a long time to learn that. But that was the night. I literally in 2 days. It was literally wow. Oh, just like, you know, standing ovation, nothing. And the show was completely the same.
It's really funny, you know. Sometimes I even had this experience, like especially I think I had more experience in close-up situations where I would perform, let's say, solving a Rubik's cube using sleight of hand in 1 second. They go crazy, or like they just do this. But when I do a card stunt, like a Sybil cut or some flourish, wow, do that again. I really loved it.
Yeah.
What? I did an amazing trick before, and they don't react. And when I do a card stunt, they will go like, "Wow,
I know. That's the depressing thing about magic is, I think one of the worst things. You remember when people used to do the balloon swallow?
Yeah.
You know, like you can do the most amazing, beautiful trick, and everyone goes, "Oh, well done." But someone swallows a balloon, and they're like, you know. That's I mean, one thing in magic is sometimes you just don't. What we think is a good trick is nothing compared. What they think is a good trick's totally different. In film, it's been a bit different because in film you're waiting around all day, and then you film something for 2 minutes, and then you stop again, and then you maybe stop for 2 hours. So it's quite hard to have a bad experience on camera. But when I filmed the Call Up, we were filming in Birmingham in the middle of winter, about 10 days before Christmas. And I'm wearing this lycra suit. So I'm in an underground car park. And it must have been about -2 or 3, wearing lycra, and I'm just shivering like this the whole time. I think that's the worst thing. And we were there for 10 days, just wearing that lycra suit, just shivering like that. I think that's the worst experience. And then I would say my best experience in being in a film was the premiere of Kajaki, and when at the end they brought up the cast members, and we had to stand next to the actual soldier that we played in the film.
Wow.
And it was very emotional because in that film people have had their legs blown off and things like that, and the actual real soldiers came up and stood with us, and we took a round of applause, and that was probably the most proud moment I've ever had as a performer, actually.
Even by hearing that, I can feel that vibe. That's a
Oh,
beautiful and emotional experience.
it really was. It was a great film, and I think it was an important film as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. And let me ask you this: how you actually manage to deal with the people that actually try to backbitch you? Because I think you have faced the situations. It's from my perspective. I'm saying, okay, because you are an all-rounder. You are an illusionist. You did wonderful illusions on TV. You are a street magician, close up, and you're an actor. You're a comedian. So like you will have more fans, and also you will have some haters or people who try to backbitch you or try to give you problems as well, right? So do you ever had any experience like that?
Yeah. I had an internet troll, and then it turned out it was someone I knew, and I even thought they were a friend. So it's so weird. But I've only had that experience in the magic world. I've not really had it in comedy or acting.
Only in magic.
Yeah, only a little bit in the magic world. But the truth of it is, I think the magic world's very small, and you just have to get on with it. And you can't, you just can't please people all the time. You just can't. And really, it doesn't. The magic is so not important. If I was like a military leader of a country, my decisions are going to affect people. But,
yeah.
all I do is card tricks. It doesn't really matter. If someone doesn't like how I do a card trick,
Like they say, I'm a card magician, and people are like, so what? Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It really.
Yeah, I totally
if
get
I
that
come
point.
up with some type of chemical warfare, that's a whole different thing.
That's true. That's true. So, like, what I was asking is that, for many people, if people are trying to backbitch them, the productivity in them, the creativity in them, the inspiration they have might get down. And some people are like, the more the people try to backbitch them or give them trouble, they get more motivated and they give a reply to that person with their work, with their
Yeah,
achievements. So, what kind
find.
of a person are you? I mean, do you used to get mentally down, or do you used to get motivated to do even more?
So when I first went on TV, a lot of the magic forums, these online forums, the minute I was on TV with some of my friends, people used to go on these forums and like, oh, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, I didn't like this. And what you find out that, and I got really upset, but then I realized that if I'm performing at a wedding, okay, and there's 100 people there, well, out of 100 people, there's probably going to be 7 or 8 people who didn't really enjoy the magic, probably. Now, it's the same in TV. If you're on TV and 1 million people watch, well, that means there's going to be, what's the equivalent? Is that about 10,000 people didn't really like it? And you have to actually learn that. And it's not an easy thing to learn. But the minute you put something on TV, that could happen. That there's going to be a certain percentage, and you just have to realize that you do the best that you can, and then you have to let it go. And I've actually learned that from being on the comedy circuit, because in comedy, some nights you really die, and it's awful. And the first time it happens, it's awful. But when it's happened 40 times, you just realize it's part of the job. Sometimes you're just not going to be someone's cup of tea, and that's it. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, we cannot, like you said, we cannot please everyone, and we cannot impress everyone, because everyone's way of thinking is different. Everyone's attitude to one thing is different. So it's true that we cannot impress anyone, but we had to accept that, okay, I'm okay with it, and you have to move
Yeah,
on.
you actually have to, okay, you know, like, and I think the best way around it is to do a lot of shows.
Experience,
So
yeah. Only
yeah,
the performing.
I remember when I first started performing in restaurants doing close-up magic, and if I had one bad show, I'd feel down for like a week, and then by the time I did say 28 shows in a row, that's when you're like, yeah, that one wasn't so good, but 2 days after that, it was really good. And that's where you learn that you are striving for this consistency, and you're not in control of everything. You're not in control of everything. And it's no different, like, why do I like this singer but I don't like that singer? It's not because that singer's a bad singer. I just don't really like what they do. That's it. Yeah. But I think you only learn that from performing. You only learn it from doing shows. And it takes a while to get there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, there is a thing called process, right? I mean, the way we learn magic is a process. The way we learn to act certain kind of role is a process. And we have we know what we love more. So, in the magic or illusion or like comedy act or acting, which process actually you love more doing it?
I think the thing probably find acting the most exciting because it's the thing I haven't done as much. But I would say putting together a one-man show is the hardest and most challenging thing. Acting is hard, but doing a one-man 2-hour magic show, that's really hard. And it takes a long time because, like, say when you're acting, you've had a brilliant screenwriter write these words, you've got professional cameramen, you've got professional lighting and sound. When you do a magic show, you've got nothing. You have to do everything yourself, and that's a great challenge. That's a great challenge to have, and I think anyone who becomes good at magic is probably good at doing anything. I think. Because I think it's a hard skill to learn. It's a hard skill to be a magician.
That's true, because we had to convince we cannot convince the people that we fooled them, but still we have to convince in certain kind of way that the magic is possible or everything is possible.
Yeah.
It's not about like, okay, so now are you convinced that I fooled you? Say, like, it's like criticizing their intelligence. So I think we should be more of like, we should do magic in the way that to let them know that everything is possible, nothing is impossible. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But when you think about what a magician does, it's bonkers. Yeah, I'm going to amaze you, but you know it's not real, but it will kind of feel like it's real.
yeah.
The whole thing is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's more than a 1 hour. You might be having some other walks as well. Yeah. So, anyways, thank you for the wonderful talk. I think we had a nice time, and thank you for your valuable time for spending with us on our channel. So, looking forward to talk to you soon in the future. Thanks a lot
No
for the time.
problem. Thank you very much.